Hey there, Ryan Kingsline here. So welcome to Sculptember, all right? I'm really excited to do this, and I want to get you started the right way. Because there is a reason for daily practice, and there is a reason you should not be doing daily practice, all right? So we got to set this up and make sure that expectations are within range and that we're going to get something very valuable out of this. The key thing to understand about this is that expectations are one of the driving forces in whether or not you're going to feel good about this or you're going to feel bad about this. And 30 days of feeling shitty about the work that you're doing is not the goal, all right? We want 30 days of feeling great about what we're doing. Part of what we're doing here and part of the goal, at least from my perspective, is to build an addiction, is to build something that we just love to do. All right, and addiction's an interesting thing. There's a couple of components that you got to understand that are kind of key to addiction. It's not enough that you just like this one activity. It also has to fill a certain psychological need or a gap inside your life. All right, so what we want to do with this is we want to craft the moment, the experience of sculpting. We want that to be a successful moment, something that gives us joy, dopamine in short. Right? It's got to be some pleasure center. All right? But at the same time, we're going to want to try to have it also fill this gap or this gap of craft in our life, where what we're really trying to do is get better and we're seeing better happen. So it's daily practice with the purpose of enjoying it, but also with a long-term goal of getting better. And one of the things that you got to understand about this, when we're doing this and we are really getting in there every day and creating something, set your goals low in terms of the overall product, all right? Not a full figure with fingers and toes and all of that stuff, because that's not something that you're going to achieve. Now, some of us in this group are going to do that, and that's exactly what we want Sculptember to do, because we want to learn how to practice. Most of us, myself included, when we think of the word practice, we think, okay, I got to produce, and I got to get a result. And that result is never as satisfying because I only gave myself an hour to do it. Have you ever done that? You give yourself an hour to do it and you're having fun, but then you get towards the end of it and you're like, it's not where I want it to be. And then now what started out great now sucks. We got to learn how to practice. We got to learn how to have fun. If you look at what athletes do and how they practice, they don't play a full game, they shoot the hoop. Shoot the hoop, and it's one thing, right? They shoot the hoop from one place, then they'll move to another, and they'll keep shooting, and they'll keep shooting, and they keep doing the same thing over and over, and they just start to develop that practice and that love for practice. That's what we want. Let's get in and let's practice and let's have some fun, all right? But what the hell am I going to sculpt? That's the first problem that we're going to face right off the bat. So I got a couple of things I want you to think about, all right? I believe in an ecosystem of creativity, and I believe that there are three main components. I got to always look at my hands when I do that because I'm dyslexic. I'm like, Three main components to creativity. This is my belief, right? You can agree, you can disagree, it doesn't matter. But I believe that in order for us to be alive and to really feel creative, we got to have three things. We got to have inspiration, we got to have resources, and we got to have a belief system that supports us and allows us to move forward. Part of this is expectations, right? Resources are things like skills, time, your hands, a computer. These are all resources, right? The internet. Okay, can you Google this? Do you have some really cool art book that you can use? Those are all resources. All right, so it's hard and soft. The soft stuff inside you, the hard stuff outside here that we can utilize. All right. But today what we want to do is we want to look at this idea of inspiration and how this really can and start instilling and getting instilled in our daily practice is what I'm trying to say. We want to be able to find an idea, set the spark, and go. Not the distance, just go for a period of time while we're letting this spark burn out. Now, before I get in and I explain what inspiration is, I need you to have another metaphor to kind of frame this whole thing. So these three ecosystems, for me, it's a lot like fire. In order to feel alive, in order for a fire to live, it needs three things. It needs ignition, it needs fuel, and it needs oxygen. All right? Oxygen is your belief system for me. A fire can run wild if it's got all the oxygen in the world. But you can take something, and yourself included, you can take everything that's in you and all this power that's inside you, and you can just tamp that down with just some screwy questions that you're asking yourself and a belief system that's not supporting you. You still have the power, you still have the fuel, you still have everything, except that belief system's keeping you down. The fuel is resources. All right, but I like to think of resources differently. I don't like to think of resources as, do I have a computer? Because if you do it that way and you're looking at, do I know anatomy? Okay, right? It's one thing to say, do I have a computer? It's another thing to say, do I know anatomy? That's a question that just never gets answered. Never, ever, period. In fact, in order for you to learn anatomy properly, you have to forget anatomy. People don't realize that. The human brain has only so much capacity. Forgetting is part of learning, because then it becomes internalized and you're not thinking about it anymore. But to hold all of that in your mind like I do when I teach, I have to forget it in the moment to actually sculpt and do something. Otherwise it's too stiff, it's not right, and I'm thinking about the pieces, not the whole. And art is about the whole. All right? So the way I like to think about resources is I like to think about resourcefulness. Okay, and there was a video earlier on this idea of resourcefulness where you look to say, what do I say yes to? What do I say no to? What do I say now to? Today we look at this idea as we start getting ourselves ready for Sculptember. We start looking at this idea of inspiration, and inspiration requires three things. It requires us, three things is how I like to think of it. Look, listen, and love. I'm going to say that again. Inspiration, this bottom part, the spark that sets the spark, that sets your fuel on fire, that goes crazy depending on your oxygen in the room or your belief system. The spark is going to come from look, listen, and love. All right, the two main senses that we have, of course, are our eyes, our ears. Some of us, like myself, are more kinesthetic, so our body and feeling is a big part of that, all right? The other thing is taking those things that come in from the senses and putting an emotional connection to them. So that it's coming in, all right? It's coming in from the outside world. I'm seeing something that's interesting to me, some grouping of people, some combination of colors, some shape that is intriguing to me, a shape that either I make on the paper, something that I've seen outside, then that comes in and connects emotionally with me. And between the two of those things happening, I get the spark. Oh, I'd like to do this. There's something powerful here for me. So we have to learn now to be able to keep our eyes open, our ears open, and our heart open. And when we see something that intrigues us, when we see something that really is interesting to us, we don't gloss over it. We don't keep going. All right? This is really one of the differences between artists and regular people. Regular people will see something like, oh, that's really neat. They keep walking. An artist sees something, they're like, oh, that's beautiful, that's really neat, and they stop. And they analyze, and they think about it, and they feel it, and they bring it into themselves, and they start to develop ideas around it, right? Regular person's got other things on their mind. They got business they got to deal with, they've got, family that they're heading off to, so they'll just walk right by that scene. Or they'll read something in a newspaper and it'll only go so deep. But an artist is listening for that connection. When something that they hear, something that they see resonates inside themselves and they can feel it. You feel it inside your body in some way or another. And when that happens, you need to stop. You need to let it echo for a little bit. Connect with that. Let that moment live, because that's the spark. That's the spark that's going to set you on fire for what you're going to do today. So as you were going into the office in the day, did you see something that was interesting? Somebody's face, some kid making a goofy face, some woman that was just beautiful in your eyes, some guy that just was like, masculine jaw that was just really interesting to you. Did you see an animal? Did you see something that was intriguing to you? Because part of what we're doing here is we're practicing inspiration. That's daily sketching. It's practicing getting inspired. Because maybe this has happened to you. I've gone through days, I've gone through weeks, I've gone through months, days, I've gone through years of not being inspired and not knowing that that's what it is. I remember I was blocked for a long time. And before it became a problem in my business and my life and it really started to shut me down, I remember a friend of mine said to me, "Oh, Ryan, you're just not inspired." And I thought, what the hell does inspiration have to do with it? What do you mean I'm not inspired? Well, I didn't realize, I thought it was work, right? I'm a blue collar guy. I'm like, get this shit done. All right, get this inspiration job done. But it doesn't work that way. And it's not like I'm going to be inspired. Now, it's a different beast. You don't pull inspiration, right? It's not this dog that you're pulling by the chain. You have to attract it. You have to have something that it wants. You got to be able to just magnetically attract it. And so what we do and what we're going to do, what I think you should do, is look, listen, love. Try to find a way to fit those 3 words into your morning as you're going through to see what you are capable of doing. All right? So, hope you are ready. We're going to have some fun in Sculptember. And remember, it's daily practice to really practice inspiration, not to practice execution. That's different. And we can get into that, right? That's totally on my map of things to do. But right now, I want to practice inspiration, getting inspired each day, doing something that is interesting to me, right? Might not be interesting tomorrow, but today, right now, this is interesting and fascinating, and I'm absorbed in it. So what are you going to get absorbed about, right? What attracted you today as you were getting in before you watched this video? What was attracting you? What caught your eye? Don't shy away from it. Sometimes it's weird things. Don't shy away from it. Because down that path, that is the light for your journey. It's the inspiration that we find. All right, I look forward to seeing everybody's work. I look forward to doing this and have fun. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what inspired you today and what you think you might be able to pull out of this. Talk to you soon.